All right. Let's get this show on the road. Welcome to another episode of the Legacy Lounge podcast, where we take a deep dive into the foundation, finances, and future of what makes a great legacy. Each episode, we bring you powerful insights, expert strategies, and real life success stories to help you level up your life. And today, oh my goodness, what a powerhouse we have on the show today. Damaris, first of all, thank you for being on the show. And is there anything that you would like to say about yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So I am a stay-at-home. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. I still am a stay-at-home mom. I got 4 kids. I got 3 girls and a boy, happily married. And I am very blessed. I'm a very blessed woman.
Amen. Amen to that. Yeah, so I know we got connected in person the first time. This was like earlier in the year in Mexico.
Yes.
And man, just the light and the energy that you brought. I remember I was just cracking up from the stories that you were telling. And my wife and I was just like, yep, that's somebody you got to bring on. That's somebody you got to just get a little peek into the mindset. I know we were talking about you being a mom, a
Yeah.
stay-at-home mom, and how faith is the foundation.
Yeah.
Um, what else? Well, first of all, you're a stay-at-home mom and running a business. Talk about that.
So it's pretty hectic. It gets chaotic because I don't just run my business, but I also help my husband in his business. So I've had to set myself on strict schedules. So I wake up 4 a.m. every morning, go to the gym. Uh, I have to hit the gym at 5 a.m. though, because the gym don't open.
Mhm.
So up at 4 because I gotta read my scriptures in the morning. I gotta get Jesus in my life first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I do my praise and worship, and I pray for 5 minutes. I put like instrumental music and I'll be praying. It's just that me time. So I have a set routine. So it's wake up, Jesus, then it's the gym, and then I'm getting everybody ready and out the house. From 6:30 to 8 o'clock, I get all 3 girls ready. And 3 girls, it's like 20 minutes of just doing hair.
I don't
So
know what that's like.
yeah, and the fight in the bathroom, like who's getting there too long. So getting everybody out, taking my son to school, and then I come home, and from 9 to 4, it's grinding time. If I have to do something for my husband's business, I take about 2 hours to make sure that I have that done. I have a planner that I swear by it. It's called the Daily Grind Planner, and I write down everything I need to complete on that day. So I get that day done, and then I just start talking to people. And being that I have 4 children, I have to run errands. As a mom, it's our job to run the household inside and outside. So as I'm running my errands, I just have my business in my pocket like a little lipstick. So I just talk to everybody, as I'm there. And I have my little marketing strategies that I use to work the business. Honestly, let me ask you a question. What's the most important piece of thing that you have in your car?
In my car,
Yes.
the most important thing, I would probably say my phone.
For your business?
For my business, probably. I do a lot through my phone.
Mine is my shirt.
Your shirt, okay?
I got my company shirt on.
Okay, yeah. Repping
So
the UW.
every time I go out, I put on my shirt on top of whatever I'm wearing, because that's everyone's like, hey, what is that? I've never heard of that. What is that? So that's me marketing myself. So when I'm not home to work my business, I'm working it out there one way or another. And I'm setting up appointments out there. And then when I come home at night, it's family time, whether I want it or not, because my kids come home ready to eat me.
That makes sense. That also makes sense why I always see you with the Universal Wealth shirt on. But take us back to the beginning. How did you even get started on this journey?
So, a few years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago now, my friend Jasmine had invited me, and she had invited me on a call. And I was like, girl, I am terrible at math. Like, I passed because I graduated because my teacher felt bad for me. Terrible. But being a mom of 4, a little getaway, I'm all for it. So she had invited me to a convention and I went, and I still wasn't really like involved, really convinced, because at the time I was doing online fitness. I was a personal coach, an online fitness coach, and I helped a lot of women around the country lose weight. So I really wasn't like looking to start anything. However, I do have my oldest daughter from a previous relationship. We are both survivors of domestic violence, so he's not involved in our lives. However, he does have, his custody, his parental rights. And for 10 years, I was trying to find a way to keep her safe, in the sense, if God forbid something happened to me, she would stay with me or stay with my family, with my mom, with my husband, whatever I could do. And I would talk to lawyers and everyone would say, well, he can still contest if you do a will, you can get anything notarized, nothing. But in the convention, there was a talk about mixing a will and a trust. And how that could be my solution. And I immediately started crying, because 10 years of trying to find an answer, and then I finally found something, was like, okay, that I have to know more. So that piqued my interest, and that's when I decided to join. Of course, at first I was kind of like, just they here and there, and then I started going through everything that happened with my grandmother, which is actually my why, and my conviction just got even stronger. So that's what led me to be here today, because the value that there is in what we do is powerful.
Yeah, so I find out that a lot of people, even myself, a lot of that foundation piece that really was the launching pad was grandparents. Like everybody that I talked to, something happened with their grandparents, and then it just struck a nerve, struck a chord, and propelled us to new heights. Like honestly, I wouldn't have even started this podcast if it wasn't for my grandmother saying, Tino, you love talking to people and you love stories more than you love the numbers. Why don't you start just telling about the stories? So what was it? Tell us a little bit about the connection that you had with your grandmother.
Man, my grandmother was my world. She was like my second mom. I remember growing up, everyone thought she was my mom. She was everything to me. She passed away about 1.5 years ago, and I was the apple of her eye. There's like 8 of us cousins, and everybody knew I was a favorite. I've always been the favorite, and I'm proud of it. She would let me do things that she wouldn't let everyone else do. So my grandmother unfortunately passed away of Alzheimer's, and this is when my conviction really got hard and solid. She got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I believe, was in May, after Mother's Day, was when she really started to go downhill. And she passed away in August, end of August. She eventually just forgot how to eat, how to drink, how to walk. She just started living in her past.
Yeah.
And had I known then about living benefits, the things that we could have avoided. So my grandmother fell down and she fractured 2 of her pelvic bones. And we had to put her in like a nursing home, kind of physical therapy home. And I put hidden cameras. I don't know. I know it's illegal, but I don't give a crap. I don't care, And I put a camera behind the TV, and then I had a teddy bear, and I made it look like a flower. And
you went all secret agent.
Yeah, I bought a picture frame, like everything. And I was always watching over it, because I could watch live through my phone. And I went to bed. I was like 9:30. I woke up, and when I would wake up, always go back during the time that I was sleeping. And when I woke up that next morning, I played from 9:30 to 12 o'clock. They were mistreating her.
Oh, man.
We found that they were mistreating her. We found that they were just being not so nice nurses. So when that happened, of course, we immediately took her out. My mom took full responsibility of her. I tried to help as much as I could as well. But because every nursing home we would try to find, it wouldn't be covered. It wouldn't, Medicare only covers a certain places, and everywhere we would go, it was just worse and worse and worse. So we had to take her out. Had I known about this, I think my grandmother would have had a better ending to her story.
Yeah.
And seeing that, I mean, I still have the video and everything. It just reminds me of how important it is to spread the word, how important it is to share. Me experiencing that and seeing my kids experience that, seeing my mother experience it, we're still healing from it. It just made everything like so much stronger inside of me.
Yeah. So tell us, like, I know you said living benefits. You and I know what that means. But for the people watching, can you break that down? Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah. So living benefits is when you have a life insurance policy and you have access to your death benefit if you have a critical, chronic, or terminal disease. I didn't know that Alzheimer's was also included in that. So, God forbid something does happen to me, because I have that. I have access to my death benefit, and they can help me while I'm alive.
Yeah. How would that have changed things for your grandma? Just so people can really understand the power and the story of what you're telling.
I think that my grandmother would have been able to heal. They didn't have the patience to feed her. They didn't have the patience to dress her. They didn't have the patience to help her get up. She would get up and I had to drive and run to make sure she didn't fall because she was getting up. I think she would have had more care, because right now the medical field is understaffed. So yes. That, and then my mom, when she did move her in, we had to spend a lot of money on medical supplies to help her live. So it would have been so much easier to be able to find something to help her get in the shower, help her get out of bed. A wheelchair alone, it's crazy how expensive things can get. So it just would have I think she would have recovered, maybe not as full, but maybe lived a longer life.
Yeah, you would have had the funds to just have better care for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I resonate with that completely. When I was a kid, my great grandmother, one of the first things I remember is going to the nursing home, seeing how she was treated, her dealing with Alzheimer's, different members of my family having Alzheimer's, clients and friends of mine. And then, so recently, every year, my wife and I have been doing the Alzheimer's walk and donating to the various charities and companies and stuff like that. So I understand that is a tough situation to go through, and then the differences with Medicare and healthcare and finding a facility and all of that. Again, living benefits, man, would have been a definite life changer in that. So tell us about, like, you being a stay-at-home mom, you dealing with your grandmother, you're pretty much running so many businesses, because running a family is pretty much a business. You got your business, you got your husband's business. How do you do it all?
I have this thing called an ish paper. Like I said, my planner. I actually have it out right now. I don't know if you guys could see it, but ish paper right there. And I just mark everything down that I'm going to do a day. So this is literally my life for my personal business. And then for the rest of my life, I have all my goals set that I set every single morning. I like to be creative and have fun with it, but I have a goal, and every day I make my list of my little needle movers, and the 3 things I'm going to accomplish. If there's out of my 10 things, 3 things that I'm going to accomplish, it's right there. And I always have to say what I'm thankful and excited for. And that is how I'm able to manage. If I do not have this, I can't function. there's
How
no
did you
getting
get
any.
started with that?
So I used to be an online fitness coach for Beachbody. I lost 86 pounds myself. Yes. And yeah, and we had this coach, one of the top coaches, who started the 5 minute grind, daily grind. So she would get on her page and she would motivate you and help you, give you strategies. And she made this into a planner. So whole body community uses it. So you come up with 10 goals a month, and then you have needle movers that are 5 minute needle movers to get to that goal. And then at the end of the month, you cross out what goal you reached. So I have one right now. It's next promotion for the business. My husband's business, I have get all his books and accounting together. So I have that one for his business. For my family, I have house cleaning, because with 6 people in the house is not easy.
Yeah.
And 2 dogs. And then for my personal goal is meal planning. Meal planning and meal prepping. And what I use for that is my Skylight calendar. It's a huge iPad that I have in my dining room. I call it the command center. And every Sunday I plan out where my kids' schedule is, which is also in my planner, so I can keep track. And I put like whether they have rehearsals, who has church. If I have meetings, then I put, okay, my husband has his color and he knows he's got to pick up the girls from church, or he has to take the girls to church, or the girls have rehearsal, you need to do this, or garbage day is today. So we have that, and we get notification. Everyone in my house has the app, so we get the notifications when it's our turn to do something. It also has a chore chart. So on Sundays, I put all their chores for the week, so there's no arguing. And there's a reward system that they all get to pick. So like one, I get my phone till 10:30 at night. The other one was a sleepover. The other one wants ice cream, and the other one wants a Hot Wheels. So if you complete 21 out of those chores, 21 chores out of those, you get your reward, and they get to click on it. So that's how I get that done. And I can keep my house organized. And I keep track of my kids. I'm making them responsible. And then I also have the meal plan center in that calendar. So on Sundays, I sit down and I write their meals and my meals. So I don't get, Mom, what were you eating today? Go check the calendar. Go check the calendar. So I have that also right there. I'm a very, very organized person. I have to have organization, and I need to have a plan.
Oh man. That is like the recipe for efficiency right there.
Yes. Yeah, like everyone has their laundry day. Everyone has what day they need to clean the bathroom, what they need to do the dishes, everything. So everything is set in stone.
What about days where you don't feel like doing it?
That's why I have a chore chart. The
Yeah, but
beauty
that's
of
just a
it,
chart.
yeah, it's an iPad, so it's modern. So they like the stars when they click on it. And if there's an event for them, like if they have a birthday party, they have their app and they can just insert it on the calendar. And I have the 7-day view on my calendar, so when I pass by, it's always there.
Okay. So I know one of the things that I did recently is I went to this business class, and we were talking about organization and efficiency, but there was an issue, a mental block when it came to discipline and motivation. So how do you got the chart, you got, hey, this is what I need to do. Let me say this. I like to think of discipline is like doing what you need to do when you need to do it.
Correct.
So how do you, like, you see it come up? How do you stay committed to doing it?
When we don't follow through, there's chaos in the house. There's stress in the house. Not only that, I am in the business of finances, and I am teaching my kids the same thing. And a lot of people are going to judge me for this, but I really don't care because it works in my house. So my chore chart is not just a chore chart.
Okay.
So we actually pay our kids, but they have to pay as well. So what we do is we have them, each chore is $2. So at the end of the week, you have the opportunity to make $25. Each one of you have the opportunity to make $25. But
A week?
Yes. So here's the we have a budget for that. So here's the catch, because they never make it to 25. Here's the catch. If you miss a chore, that's 10 cents off your pay. Because when you go to work, you can't just not do your work. You're not going to get paid for it, right? So you get 10 cents off. Now, sometimes they go out to their friend's house. Mom, what do we do with your chores? I was like, you're calling off on your chores. That's calling off from work. You're not getting paid for that day. So that's 10 cents off. So I have that because at one point my oldest daughter was trying to go out every weekend. I was like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. So now sometimes they'll lose some money, but at the end of the week, I have overtime cards that I created, which are additional chores, which is like simple, like sweep the patio or clean underneath the sink or clean out the car, things that are not every day. And they can pick one card. Each card has either an additional $3, additional $5, additional $2, or additional $1. However, you don't get to choose a chore. I shuffle the cards, I flip them over, and they can pick one. Now you have the option. Be very careful if this is what you want to do, because you have the option to do overtime. Because if you do overtime, you said yes, and then you choose not to do it because you didn't like your card. If that card has $5, you lose $5 on your paycheck if you choose not to do it, because you're not going to call your boss and tell your boss, hey, I don't feel like doing overtime anymore. You need to learn to show up for your team. So they're very, very careful when it comes to overtime cards and careful about missing on certain things. And then after that, on the first of the month, they have to pay $3 in rent, $2 in electric, $1 in water, $1 for tithing, and then they put the rest away. At the end of the month, they take whatever money they got at that week and they split it, and half of it goes into savings and the other half is checkings. Now, the beauty about it is that you learn each kid's way of managing money. My oldest, she always makes sure her bills are paid and she saves her money. She's a saver. Now, my middle child, she'll save her money, but she won't have a dime till the last paycheck. She'll go buy Takis, candies, you name it. And then there's my youngest daughter who wants to pay the whole year worth of bills ahead of time. So what happens is they already divided, let's say the month of March, they divided half of that money. They had $50 and they divided half that money. So let's say it's $25. Now you have another month with another 50. And you take half of that, you split it, and your savings is going up. So we started doing this last year, and this is the first year. Last year was the first year they were able to get Christmas gifts on their own, and they were so happy. So I'm teaching them to save money. I'm teaching them how to manage. Now, if you do not have money for bills on the first of the month, that's 50 cents late fee. So my middle daughter already experienced that, and I've never seen my kids scrabble for change in my life. So now I'm making them responsible at a young age. So again, my chore chart is not just a chore chart.
And that is amazing.
Goes into their little bank account, and when they get older, I'll give it back to them, but they don't know.
Wow. Wow, serious. Oh man, you could put that in a guide, a little course. You could sell that. Seriously. Because one of the things that I'm doing is with some of my speaking engagements, a lot of the schools have reached out to me, and I'm like doing financial education for teachers and parents. But being able to break that down to like, hey, parents, this is how your kids can get better with money. And then with you managing it, you will then become better with money. And so it comes full circle. That is
right. And I did this. I started off on a poster. And then when I got my calendar, it made it easier. So I went to Dollar Tree. I think I spent like $5 in total. And they have those little like pamphlets, and each one is labeled for their bills. And that's their bank account. And I'm like, you need to make sure you keep your bank account safe. So they know, like, okay, it stays in mom's drawer, so nobody touches it. Nobody knows where it is. So yeah, that's how they do
That's gold. That is
it.
gold. So like, because
So there is
also,
motivation and consequences
yeah,
at the same time.
yeah. I'm also seeing like there's an opportunity to just like for me like sibling rivalry, just make more money than everybody.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They already they're like, hey, can you lend me $1? I'll lend you $1, but you gotta give me 2 back. So they're learning the investment strategy too.
Mm, mm. Is there a way to max it? Like I know you said you got the regular chores and then overtime. Is there a way for like to even max that out?
There is. There is. If one person is gone at their friend's house, they have the option to pick up their chore. So that's additional 20 cents if they pick up their chore.
Oh man, you got like a business in a business. Oh my goodness. Seriously,
Yeah.
like one of those kids, if they truly, truly figure it out, it's game over. The whole world. Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now my middle one doesn't wait till the end of the month anymore. So, but now she knew. I was like, that's how it is in the real world.
yeah, yeah. Oh man. So okay. So how I know you was talking about the dollar store. Like, how can like a parent watching this get started? Like, what tips, tricks, advice can you give them?
So the first thing I did was I had a family meeting and I told the kids, all right, these are the chores that need to be done. You guys can choose which ones you think are fair. So we kind of made it into a family thing because when you tell them, hey, you're going to do this, that, they just cry. So we did it together. We chose a list, and then from there, I went to the dollar store. I picked up a poster, and I got some stickers just to make it nice and fun for them. And we put Sunday through Saturday or Saturday, whatever the date is, and then I put the label stickers for labels. The ones that you labels in folders, and I wrote the chores down. So there's a list there, and then there's those label ones that you can just take off, like they're that come in like the little bookmark stickers, the notepads that you put on the side of the planners on the side, and they have their color. So when they complete that chore, they put that on there. Here's the cash flow. It has to be done before 8:15 because bedtime's 8:30. So that means by 8:15 at night, I'm checking. If it's not done, 10 cents off. Next to that poster board, we have a Post-it where we have the names of the kids minus 10 cents, plus 20 cents, minus 10 cents. So they are tracking that Post-it every minute of every day. The beautiful part about it is they also hold each other accountable. So like I have my middle child that takes the dishes out of the dishwasher, and my oldest has to put them in the dirty ones in there. So now I have my oldest being like, dude, take the freaking dishes out because then I'm gonna lose 10 cents. Let's go. So now I'm not the one yelling at them. They're yelling at each other. So there's that. And then they have the little pamphlets that you put like the coupon booklets at the dollar store. And I just labeled rent, electric, water, tithing, savings, checkings. And they distribute their money like that. And then I have separately in my drawer, I have an envelope where they give me their bill money on the first of the month. And then I deposit it into the little accounts. And then once I start getting a big chunk of change, I just put it into their IULs.
Okay, okay, okay. Oh man, talk talk about that.
Yes. So I want them to have, their own wealth, and I want them to learn how that is. What if you don't want to go to college? What if you do want to go to college? What I got 3 girls, buddy, like weddings. I have quinceañeras, sweet 16s, so now my kids have that. And if they don't want to have one of that, like my oldest doesn't want a sweet 16, she wants to go to Puerto Rico, and which is 10 times cheaper, but I have access to that. I don't have to sit here and stress about saving. So that's a beautiful thing as well. And if once they get older, I give them that, and they have that's their generational wealth. They have money, they have already living benefits, they already have their death benefit, and it just grows and grows and grows. And since they are already learning about their finances as a young age, they know how to manage it. They're prepared to manage it.
You are truly giving them freedom and control over their lives at such a young age. Like, it is amazing, like truly, truly amazing. And then, so it's like understanding the value of time and effort and hard work and the value of a dollar. Then, like, you're also taking that money and having it compound for them.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't, and it's not a lot of money either. It's like $6 a month that they give me, but that accumulates. So.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I can only imagine just like when it's time to access that money, them thinking back to like these moments and the hard work and the effort, the holding their siblings accountable. Mm-hmm. Like, man, there's so many lessons and
and they're teaching each other to be there for each other, because nobody wants to snitch each other out. Like, oh my God, I gotta do it. I caught my middle one telling my youngest one, like, I have to get this homework done. Can you please help me? Please help me. I promise I'll give you 50 cents. If you help me, just don't tell mom. So, it works. It does work.
Yeah. Man, a lot of people don't learn skills like that until college. Mm-hmm. So, man, they'll be way ahead of the game. Oh my, I'm gonna go back and rewatch this. Like, that is absolutely amazing. Like, truly. Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to finances, right? What are the myths and the false beliefs that let's just say parents should stop believing?
What do you mean?
Like just how a lot of parents think like, oh, I can't make it, or oh, all the barriers that's in the way.
First of all, where there's a will, there's a way. I had my daughter at 17 years old. I was on my own. I was homeless at one point. I had no money to even eat, but I made sure my daughter ate. You just figure it out. If there is always a solution. God does not put things in your face that you cannot handle. There's always a solution. Yeah, sometimes we feel like, life is beating us down, but that's life. We're going to get hit with adversities left and right. Like I said, I had a child at 17. And I am also a survivor of domestic violence. I am a survivor. I am not a victim. I am a survivor. I will not give that man that power. And I was always told, oh, you're not going to amount to anything if you leave my son. You're not going to do this. And I went through some pretty rough patches. At one point, I lived in an RV with no running water in the mountains, really cold, no bathroom. I had to walk to my neighbor's house. Like, but you find a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. I didn't have a bathroom for my daughter, so what did I use? I bought those little potty trainer things, and that's what I used for her. And I used to clean it out every day. As far as finances go, there's some place that you can cut. If you got to cut your cable, your Netflix, and that's what you got to do. If you got to lower your bill and only live off of minutes, because I've had to do that before so that I can pay for my daughter's co-payment for daycare, which was $20, then that's what you got to do. If you don't have a car, well, then there's a bike. I used to have a bike and have those little wheel things attached, and my daughter would sit back there as I was riding bikes to my job and to her daycare. There is a way. There just is. You just got to work harder, and you got to believe that you can do it. You can't let anybody take you down, because the only person that can take you down is yourself.
Man, where did that strength and resilience come from?
When I was 16, I was overhearing my parents talking with their family, And I was the odd child. It was my stepdad and my mom. And they said, oh, because of my personality, they're like, she's going to not graduate and she's going to be the one to get pregnant before graduation. And when I heard that, that just gave me ammo. That was like the fire in me, like, no, it's not going to happen. Not only that, but my mother also had me at 17 years old, and she sacrificed so much for me. Like, I remember when I graduated, I didn't graduate because I wanted to graduate. I graduated for my mom because she couldn't graduate. So I saw that fight in my mom. Nobody stopped her. My grandmother was a very, very strong woman. That's all I grew up with. But when I heard her say that, my stepdad's cousin say that about me, she didn't know that I heard that. Man, it was like every single time somebody said I couldn't do something, I was there doing it. I was told, oh, you're not going to go to college. Let me tell you, I was 7. I was pregnant at 17 and I went to college. I mean, it was for a semester because I figured out real quick it wasn't for me, but I did it. My ex, I tried to join school and he did everything I possibly could to not join school. Well, I met my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and I was going to work. I had my daughter in daycare. I was pregnant with my second one, and I was going to school. I will never allow somebody to tell me I can't do something, because again, it's on me. It's on nobody else. No one can dictate who I do. The only person that can tell me what I can do is God.
So let's fast forward, right? Let's just say you have 80-year-old Damaris.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're the grandmother, right? What advice would you give yourself now?
Now, let's say, don't stop the hustle, because there's an opportunity everywhere you go. Don't stop the hustle.
Okay. And then now looking back to your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self?
Believe in yourself. You're going to be okay. You just need to believe in yourself. Life's going to knock you down, but just believe in yourself. You're stronger than what you think.
Man, that's powerful. That's powerful. So I know, like, we come across, especially in our industry, whether it's the clients giving them hope for a financial future, or people coming into the industry as, licensed agents and professionals, how do you instill hope into them?
I share my story. Because, I know a lot of people that have gone through things that I have gone through. There's a lot more things that I've gone through, and I'm still here. I'm still here. There's hope. If I can do it, you can do it too. By sharing my story and everything that I've been through in my life. I'm 33, but I've been through a lot. It gives other people hope to say, like, man, if she did it, I can do it too. And something that a lot of women, because I used to empower women in my Beachbody group. That was just what I did. Yeah. I noticed a lot of mothers, they put themselves last, which is where the screaming and the overwhelming comes. And I do it too. I'm not saying I'm no angel at all, but what I found through my journey is it's okay to be selfish, because if mom's not okay, the house is not okay. Okay. So you need to take care of yourself. You come first. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's your kids. Yeah, to a certain extent, because if you cannot take care of yourself as a woman, before mom, before wife, you cannot take care of everyone else.
So what does that look like?
So for me, I continue my passion, my hobbies. I take pride in them. For me personally, is I've always been into the beauty industry. So you'll never catch me without nails. Just won't do it. And my husband, when I met him, I was like, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, there is a budget. This is going to happen, whether you like it or not. It's happening. My nails, I'm always on top of my nails. I'm always on top of my hair. I read. You're not going to tell me I cannot read. I love to read. I love to learn. Knowledge is power. So that, and I need to go out. and disconnect. So I have once a month, I'll grab one of my girlfriends and we'll go out to like Painting with a Twist, or we'll go to the movies, or just me and girl time, because I'm also a woman. I'm also a human being. I'm not just mom, and I'm not just your wife. And I've had that conversation with him early. I put those boundaries that are respectful boundaries, and that's how I'm able to manage that. And when I do have a moment of overwhelmment, I step outside on my patio with a glass of wine and just thank God for another day of life.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
And yeah, it really is. And something that does help me on tough times is in the morning, when I do wake up, the first thing I do is read a faith-based book. I'm always having a faith-based book, always. So that's the first thing I read. And then I have a personal development book. I don't read fantasies and like little stories like that. I just feel like that's the waste of my brain. Things that's going to help me empower myself. That's my
Any recommendations?
Absolutely. I'm currently reading The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Absolutely love that as a personal book, my personal development book. And a faith-based book that I read that I always go back to is called The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers. It kind of like you just open that book and whatever you're going through, it just speaks to you. So those two books are definitely a must read.
So you've been through a lot, and you got a great solid foundation. How do you approach risk?
With in what sense?
Just in any general sense, so I'm thinking about it from two standpoints. I'm thinking about it from like when we're helping clients and they're like, oh, I'm afraid to put this dollar here. And then I'm also thinking about it in terms of the opportunity, where again, a lot of the journey, the entrepreneurial journey, is going to be faith. It's going to be challenges. There are going to be risks. So how do you approach it from those two standpoints?
So what comes with risk is fear, right? And maybe it's because of the background that I have, of being a survivor of domestic violence, but I refuse to let fear hold me back. So when I see fear, I just picture in my mind a door, and I'm kicking the door down and I'm hitting it with facts. Just hit it with facts.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. So, tell us about like a time that you've overcome fear, you've kicked down that door, and what was on the other side.
So, believe it or not, it's recruiting outside of my house, talking to people. It was very hard for me. That was a very, very difficult thing for me.
Let me say this first. I would have never thought that.
Yes. Yes, that was like one of my biggest fears, which is probably why I was so stagnant for about a year in the business, because I was just too afraid to go talk to people. And then I just got to a point where I'm like, why? I started to question myself, like, why are you afraid? What's going to happen? And then I grabbed my notebook and I wrote fears, present, fears, past, kind of like a pros and cons. And I wrote down a list of my past fears that I've overcome. And then I wrote down a list of the current fears. And when I compared the two, it was like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, seriously? Seriously? You're afraid to go talk to somebody? So I just, again, I pictured that door. And I always go back to that door. I pictured that door and I pictured myself kicking that door. And then it brings me back to when I was 16. And I heard that woman saying that I wasn't going to amount to anything. So then I put those words of fear in that woman. Oh, she's never going to be able to go talk to nobody. She's too scared. And I go and do it.
Mm. So what's the next 5 years like for you? Where do you see yourself?
I see myself being very successful in my business. I see my husband working the business with me, and I see my oldest daughter working the business with me. I've actually brought my kids around the business, and they love it. They're actually spreading the word. They were at the boot camp, the Orlando boot camp. On my page, I actually posted. They were like, "Mom, I learned about the rule of 72 and this thing about the stock market." Like, I was like, really? She's like, yeah, and you got to put it in the index accounts and the variable accounts. That's not a good account. So I see this business being a family business for all of us having fun with it. And I see our family being able to enjoy life. And my husband's stress level go down in having to go find work because we have this.
Yeah. So what is the one great lesson, like if you want your kids to like, hey, if I taught you anything, it is this.
If I taught you anything, it's rely on each other. Rely on your family because we are the only ones that are going to be there for you. Your siblings will always, always be there for you. And when you guys are together, you guys are stronger as a unit than you are by yourself.
Oh man, you are hitting on everything that I like to teach my clients. So I always say this. There's I have this system. It's called the 3F system, and it's a framework to building a legacy. The first F is your foundation, and that's going to be like your family, your friends, your churches, your organizations, everything that shaped you growing up, everything that laid that foundation. And that's a lot of what you're talking about here. And then the second F is finances, because you need money in this world to do pretty much anything, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then the third F is the future. Like when you combine the first two F's, the foundation and the finances, what do you want your future to look like? What is it that you're building? What is it that you want your family to know? And you're telling me this story, and I'm just like, you get it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's so amazing. You're living it out every day.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. So let me ask you this. And this is a little fun question I've been asking people recently. If you can have dinner with any three people, present or in the past, whether they were a real person or a fictional person, who would those three people be and why?
Okay, so the first person would be my grandma. Um, because I think I'm just excited to tell her, look what I did, look what I'm doing, you know. So the first person would definitely be my grandmother. Um, the second person would be Joyce Myers. I can relate a lot to her life, and I would love to connect with her one day. So Joyce Myers would be the second one, and then the third one, let's see, Luis Fonsi. Like that's my fantasy boyfriend.
Okay.
Luis Fonsi, that would be amazing.
I can
Just
only
the way
imagine
I
what that
met
dinner would go like. oh,
him. Yeah.
oh, man, this has been amazing, Damaris. Like honestly, I have gotten so much out of it, just like on parenting, managing life, managing yourself, persevering, strength, resilience, having a plan, budgeting. Oh man, what else? What I don't even know what else to ask you. Like, what else do you want? I feel like there's still so much gold and so much valuable knowledge and gems in there. But what is it that you want to share?
I don't know. Like I guess I love my family. I love God. God has, you know, I'll share a testimony. I'm going to
Okay.
share a testimony. Okay. So about 8 years ago or 9 years ago, um, my daughter, my youngest daughter, she fell in our family pool at 10 months. And my middle daughter at the time was 2 years old and she pulled her out. I was cleaning out the car And this is where my faith really began to be strong. The day before, I was arguing with my husband. It was 3:15 on the dot. I remember I was in car loop picking up my daughter. The next day at 3:15 on the dot, because my neighbor had the cameras, my daughter fell in the pool. And when we were arguing, I had told my husband, listen, I don't want to talk about God. Don't mention him. I've been through too much in my life. I just don't feel like he's real anymore. Like, don't do it. And then my daughter falls in the pool. And what was the only thing I could do? It was to save her. Please return her to me. So she fell in the pool. I didn't even think to call 911. Or my husband, I ran across the street to my neighbor's 18-year-old son. And I didn't know at the time, but 4 months ago, his older brother was going to school to be an EMT, and his mom had told him, always tells the boys, go out in a buddy system, and he had told him, hey, go to CPR classes with him. He needs someone to go with him. He didn't want to go, but he decided to go. 4 months later, God was preparing him to bring my daughter back to life, because the first thing I did was give him my 10-month-old baby. I'd never spoken to this man. I'd never seen him from a hole in the wall. I was only here for 6 months. I had just moved in. And he was able to do CPR on her and get her to start throwing the water up. And then when they called 911, because I didn't even think about 911, the cop was actually patrolling the neighborhood. So he was there. He just happened to pass by. He was already there on the scene. When they called the ambulance, the hospital was empty, so they were there within 5 minutes. And then they picked her up. I went to the hospital. My husband rushed home, and they told me that that no one could get a line in her to get her to breathe. But that day, there was a doctor that was asked to come from a different hospital to cover that shift. And it just so happens that the hospital he came from specializes in babies. And he was the only one that was able to get a line in my daughter and get her to breathe. Then they had to medevac her to his hospital. And the lady that was in the helicopter didn't know it was a baby, and she specialized in babies. So they took her over. We drove over there to the other hospital. During that time, I didn't realize what had actually happened with my other daughter. I didn't know that she had jumped in the pool yet. I was just in like fight or flight mode. So we get to the hospital. She was on life support for 28 hours. They told us she was initiating breaths, but she was not holding them. And, at this point, I have people all over the East Coast. Like, I don't even know how it got out, but I live in Florida. I have people from Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, just all over the East Coast, put pictures of my daughter as their profile picture, saying prayers for Addis Ellie, like to support, sending me messages, sending me prayers. People I've never spoken to, they were just messaging me. So they told me we need to give her a blood transfusion, because the first night she was there, her left lung almost collapsed. She caught pneumonia. Her oxygen would go from 65 all the way to 95 and then 60. It was a mess that first night. So when they told us that, okay, she's initiating breaths, but she's not holding them, so we have to keep her on life support, I had gone out to the hallway to talk with my dad. And all of a sudden, the alarms go off. All the doctors are rushing in the room. My daughter, I guess, got some strength from the blood transfusion and pulled the tubes out. So when I look in there, they're trying to get oxygen in her. And at this point, I lost my sanity. I lost my sanity. I fell to the floor. It was like a nightmare that never ended. My husband was like punching the wall. My dad had to carry me, grab my husband. They took us out of the room, out of the hallway, and it was like the longest 20 minutes of my life. They had just told us she wasn't going, she has to be on life support or she's not going to make it. Now she's 10 months. So I'm over here losing my mind. And then they come out and they're like, this happened December 9th. And they come out and they tell me, you have a Christmas miracle because she's on oxygen. And we don't know how, but she's on oxygen. So we made it in there. And the first 24 hours were crucial because she wasn't responding emotionally. Like, she didn't know her name. She didn't recognize my husband. And then we played a video the next morning of her a few days before playing with her siblings. And she was laughing. And then her life came back. It just, everything came back to her. And the doctor from the ER, from the previous ER, came back to visit her because that was his hospital, and goes, you know, I didn't want to tell you because you were too hectic, but her body temp had dropped to 90 degrees. So what happened was, in December in Florida, it's cold. The water is cold. So what happened was that her body dropped and it preserved her brain. Her brain stopped functioning, preserved her brain so that she did not have any brain damage. That being said, I will never doubt my faith again. She is a happy 9-year-old girl now. My 10-year-old, who was 2 at the time, got a Citizen Hero Award for saving her daughter, my daughter, her little sister. And I will never, ever, ever doubt my faith again. There's actually got interviewed. If you go on YouTube, you can find it. It's a 2-year-old saved a 10-month-old little sister in St. Lucie County. And then they got interviewed again last year as a follow-up to the story because the EMTs and the officers that were there 8 years ago came for their baptism at church. So that is my testimony, and that is why I just overcome everything, because God is there. He will provide.
Look, it doesn't get any more powerful than that. Damaris, where can the people find you?
On Instagram, my name is Positive Damaris, and my Facebook, Damaris Betancourt.
Man, I really don't. There's nothing that I can say that's going to top that story. So if you want to leave people with a positive message, a one-liner, whatever, give it to them.
Just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. You are, like I said, like I would tell my younger self, you are stronger than you think you are. And just remember, you have a Heavenly Father that's there to carry you.
Absolutely. And with that being said, that has been another great episode. Damaris, I appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, people, your life happens in moments. Take advantage of each moment, and that's going to lead to a great legacy. And with that being said, bye-bye. Y'all have a great day.